Hello, welcome to the Confident Hypnotherapist podcast. I'm Lawrence Akers. This week I'm chatting with the wonderful Helen Breward from the UK. Helen is possibly one of the world's leading specialists when it comes to menopause and hypnotherapy. And this week we chat all about that, plus a little bit about her history in becoming a hypnotherapist. Won't you join us? Stay tuned. Helen, thank you so much for joining me today for this conversation. I think the last time we caught up might have been at the Gold Coast for Hypnobiz.
It was.
That
the last time we were allowed out.
That feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it?
It was like a whole world ago, but it was amazing, absolutely amazing. The conference on the Gold Coast, I thoroughly enjoyed, have to be perfectly honest. And you know, obviously I met yourself, which was absolutely great. I thoroughly enjoyed meeting you and lots of other people as well. It was just amazing. I just thoroughly enjoyed.
It's rare to do a shout out so early on in a podcast, but a big shout out to both Selena and to Helen who put together the Australian one, because given the circumstances we were under, Australia literally went into lockdown the weekend after that.
Yeah. So did we.
We had people leaving mid-conference to get home because borders were closing. What a dramatic time that was.
It was. I remember Saturday lunchtime, you know, the conference had just got going and it was really going really well. And, and then all of a sudden I was saying, where's so-and-so? Oh, then I've had to go home.
Had to go home. I remember that.
But, you know, even through all of that, we still managed to pull it off.
Yeah.
It was still an outstanding conference. It was still great. Right on the beach, which for me ticks the massive box, you know. But, you know, it's not about the location, it's about the people.
Yeah, it was great to be able to really connect to everyone there and to feel a part of the community, part of the tribe. You know, I think, and I think this even relates to our topic of this podcast, because, you know, I think when you start to relate to the tribe and start to feel part of something, it helps to build that identity of being the hypnotherapist, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I guess, you know, I'm curious to know, how did you find hypnotherapy originally, or hypnosis therapy? What was the chain of events that brought you into this world?
My chain of events goes along the lines of, I'm a former primary school teacher, so that meant I taught the little ones, sort of 5 to 11-year-olds. I was a teacher for 13 years. Now, I would imagine it's very similar in different ways, but very similar in Australia. Teaching here in the UK is a very stressful job, a very pressured and stressful job. There is far more paperwork than you ever spend teaching the children, which to me instinctively is the wrong way around. It should be focusing on teaching the children and that much paperwork, but that's just my personal perspective. When I used, the stress built up so much that I ended up having to take a lot of time off work to actually come down from all the stress to be able to function as a person. I was able to go back to work after a long period of time, but then I started to notice that my stress levels were rising again, and that was when I thought, do you know what, love, if you're going to carry on with this, you've got to do something about this, because I knew where that one was going to go, and I don't really want to go there again. That's not a nice place. So I was looking around and I happened to pick up a leaflet in the chiropractors about hypnosis. So I gave the woman a call, and, you know, the rest is history, I guess. She taught me how to deal with my stress better. She taught me a lot of different tools and techniques. And then she said, well, I'm actually running a training program if you want to think about becoming a hypnotherapist. She said, I think you'd be really good at it. I went, oh, God, I can't do that. I don't, this is what you were saying earlier. I don't know anything. I don't know enough. I can't deal. I don't know enough to deal with, help people deal with their issues. I'm having problems dealing with my own issues, that kind of thing. So, I sort of thought about it for a few months, and then I suddenly thought, do you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Even if it's just for me, I'm going to do the training.
Mm.
And you know what, isn't it interesting? We talk about synchronicity, and I know some people talk about the laws of attraction and all that sort of stuff. But once I made that decision, I thought, well, I haven't got the money, because it was about, I think it was about £1,500, £2,000 to do it, to do the training here in the UK. And I thought, I haven't got that kind of money. And then all of a sudden, money started coming in from lots of different places. Rather, this is a bizarre one, right? I had a car crash, not a bad one. Somebody ran into the back end of me, so I was fine. My daughter was fine. But I ended up getting compensation money from that car crash that actually paid for the majority of my course, put together with the other bits of money that come in. I had more than enough. Isn't that strange?
The universe was saying you were supposed to be a hypnotherapist, and thus began the car crash protocol. No, so this is where Helen will drop you into a state. You will rearrange your problem. Money will happen.
Like
I'm going to trademark that. That's no.
That's cool.
No. I'm curious, how much of you being a teacher and that role of being a teacher did you bring into being a hypnotherapist? Did any of that come across, or do you feel that it was a separation of those two identities?
Yeah, you see, that's an interesting one, isn't it? I think there are definite things that I learned, skills that I use. But you have to remember, it's a completely different forum, teaching, because you have got little uns, not big uns. Wasn't used to the adults. I was like, oh my God, what do I do with you then? Oh, you're the same age as me. I had to learn to talk differently, I think. I use the teaching skills, the same kind of teaching skills, to teach people, because once I realized that what I'm actually doing is still teaching, that sort of flipped it around for me. Yeah. I saw it in a different light, because essentially I think what we all do is teach people how to manage themselves better, or manage their minds better. Once I realized that, and that clicked in my head, I think things started to flow a little better. And I kind of sort of slotted into a space, if you like, you know. I think my teaching skills have come more back to the fore since I've been doing training. Especially doing talks like at the conferences and things like that. That was when I think I brought my teaching skills back to the forefront again, and started using the sort of stuff that I'd learned as a teacher, but just recognizing that they're a bit taller, they're more grown up. But yeah, I think there are a few. It was a mental mindset change for me, though, to be fair.
Well, I'm curious about that as well, because, quite often when people study hypnotherapy and hypnosis, one of the lines I've heard from a few different trainers over the years is that, if you're not sure if you're going to be successful, act as if you're the hypnotherapist. At what point did you shift from acting as if you're the hypnotherapist to just being the hypnotherapist? Where did that shift happen for you? Is that something that you think was so subtle that it's kind of lost in time?
I don't know. I don't know if there was a shift, to be fair. I think I think I remember the early days, the very first few clients that I did. I was like, oh my God. And I had books and piles and papers and scripts and all kinds of things, because I didn't feel that I knew enough. I didn't feel that I wasn't actually a hypnotherapist, even though technically I was. In my head I wasn't, and I don't actually know when that shift started. Actually, no. I think that shift changed must have been about 3 or 4 years after I did my training, when I decided that I needed to do hypnosis full time and not part time. Because at the time when I first trained, for about 3 or 4 years, I was teaching part time, and I was doing hypnosis part time. That meant sort of maybe 1 or 2 clients a month. And I think what happened was, for me, there was a push at work. I got to that point where I knew I couldn't teach for much longer. For a lot of teachers, there comes that point where it's like a snapping point where you just suddenly go, I can't do this. And I knew I was getting to that point, and I knew I had to build up the hypnosis side. If I was going to leave teaching, I had to build up the hypnosis side. Once I'd recognized that and made that decision that, yes, that's what I'm going to do, and started to take those steps, I think that's when that change started to happen. I think I started to behave as if, like you said, I didn't do it consciously. I just thought, right, girl, you've got to get your backside in gear. I was going to say a swear word there. You got to get your backside in gear.
You were definitely back in that state, weren't you? Yes.
and move this forward. And I did that with Sheila's help. So it's all Sheila Granger's fault.
She is remarkable, isn't she? She really is. I think I mentioned before this conversation about chatting with her, and her chat left a very strong impression with me, because I thought, here's someone who exudes confidence, or at least I feel she does. And to hear her be so open and vulnerable about, the fact that she still sometimes has these thoughts of,
but I was going to say the same. You said about when did that change happen. I don't know if that change, it's one that I dip in and out of, I think. I have those times, and even recently, where I have those times where I think, Helen, you haven't got a blooming clue what you're doing. What on earth are you playing at? You don't know enough. You don't know, and I have all those doubts just the same as everybody does. And in something that somebody said to me years ago, and it might have been Sheila, it might have been somebody that she knows, I can't remember now. She said, it was, the phrase comes along is new level, new devil. And she says, you're stepping up a level, that brings new devils, if you like, or new issues with it too. And it's absolutely right. There are times when I sit there in front of a client and I think, I ain't got a clue what I'm going to do with you. Not a clue. So what I do now, the strategy I've learned now, the strategy I've taught myself now, right? So when I've got a client in front of me and I'm thinking, I haven't got a foggiest, not a clue. I've been through this, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. I'll keep them talking. All right, I'm going to keep you talking till you give me an idea. And that's what I do. So I keep them talking about lots of, and I ask them really, I suppose on the face of it, to them, they're really sort of chit-chatty, no, I don't see your point kind of questions, but actually there's a big point to it. I ask them things like, oh, what did you do last night then? What do you watch on TV? What films did you watch recently? What have you done at the weekend? What do you like doing? And I find out all those kinds of things, because when they start talking about especially the films that they watch, and okay, do you watch the Marvel comics? And I'm like, this, fingers crossed you watch Marvel comics, because I'm really there if you do. Oh no, I don't like that. And I'm going, oh, for God's sake, what do you like then? And then they come out with something else. And if I haven't got a clue what that is, I get them to talk about that. And then hopefully I come up with some sort of idea that I can blend that into something.
It's almost like you're taking what they like and repurposing, reutilization of that, to make sure that there's some experience that they can connect with. I completely get where you're going with that. Yeah.
That's my trick. If I haven't got a clue, that's generally what I do. And if occasionally you get somebody that just does not give anything away, I think, right, well, you're just going to get a general roundup of what you've just told me back at you. There's not going to be any nice fluffy stuff involved in it and story or history, because you're just not giving me anything. And you do come across people like that sometimes. Those are the hard ones, I think, sometimes.
Yes.
Especially if you're an imaginative person.
I think there's also, I see the two extremes. I see the ones that give you absolutely nothing, but then I also see the ones that give you almost too much. And it's almost like you're there trying to pull together all of it, because you can see almost too much going on. Yeah.
Those are the ones that throw a lot of red herrings your way, aren't they? I don't know about you, and I don't think everybody does this, but I tend to make quite a few notes as I go along. And that's when they're really sort of in the thick of it, and I'm going, you're throwing me a lot of red herrings here. That's when I look down at my notes and just notice the things, because I tend to note the big things, what I think are the important things. I think,
the themes that go through.
Yeah, so what you're talking about is you're just throwing lots of red herrings at me. You're trying to deflect me away from the important thing. And it's a case of looking at that and spotting in your notes what the important thing is, I think. But you know what? That takes time to learn. I mean, I don't think I did that. I know I didn't do that in the beginning, because it's just experience at the end of the day, isn't it? But even the most experienced of people, we all feel vulnerable. We all feel that we don't know enough, and I'm a so-and-so for, I'll do another course. I don't know about that.
Well, I have been a badge-wearing member of the course junkies kind of thing for many years, and it's kind of been in recent years where I've pulled back a little bit and realized how many courses do I need to buy. So nowadays I'm a little bit more selective based upon if it's relevant to what my needs are. And with that, thank you very much for your wonderful grief and loss course that I did recently. I think anyone who hasn't had a chance to do any of Helen's courses should go and check them out, because it was very informative and useful. So thank you. But I also noticed recently that due to the pandemic, I think a lot of people that, at least in Australia, we've noticed that a lot of people that wouldn't have come here before are suddenly embracing online. And most people I speak to are probably doing around 3 to 4 courses at the moment each, because all these great people, we're all broke because we're all doing these great courses. But, I guess a question I would have for you is, as someone who's been in this industry for a while, and, you've just admitted that you do courses, how do you know which ones to do? Do you have a self-reflection process that has you thinking, well, this is kind of where I need to go? Or what's your deciding process in determining where you go next with your courses?
Do you mean as in the ones that I take myself?
The ones that you take yourself, the ones that you see as professional development?
I think quite often sometimes it's an area that I'm aware of, that I feel that I need to know a little bit more about, or I feel I need to be a bit more competent at. Now, as we've talked before, I was speaking to somebody a couple of weeks ago, actually, another trainer, and we were talking about courses, and I was just asking about different things, and we were talking about PTSD actually. And I was, because my theory is that I suspect next year, probably not so much this year, although I think people are starting to see it now, there will be a lot of PTSD coming through our doors.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that, and I said, I don't, at the moment, I don't feel that I know enough to be able to feel that I can do PTSD or tackle PTSD. And the person that I was talking to just looked at me and went, Helen, you know more than enough. And I went, no, but I don't think I do. So I think it comes down to those sort of, I suppose it is reflection at the end of the day. I suppose sometimes we can do too much reflection, can't we?
Yes. I think that's what the getting in the own way bit that we were kind of talking about before.
Sometimes I wake up I've woken up in the early hours of the morning thinking, what am I going to do about this? I don't know what to do with this client. What am I going to do about that? What am I going to do? I haven't got a clue. And my brain's going round and round and going, well, we haven't got a clue. We're looking at you. It's almost like I've got 2 people inside my head going, well, I don't know. It's up to you. Well, I haven't got a clue. I thought it was up to you.
It's really like Laurel and Hardy or something going on in there. It's another fine mess you got me into. So.
What are you playing at? I tell you what, sometimes it's like that, and sometimes I've got clients sat in front of me, right, and in my head, and I've got that going on in my head. I'm going, well, what are you going to do? I ain't got a fuck. It's what I'm going to do. I thought it was up to you. No, it's up to you. Well, I'm out of all our ideas. Well, what? you got yourself into a mess, didn't you? Well, now you can pull me out of it. I ain't pulling you out of it. And I'm thinking, oh my God, if you knew what was going on in my head, be loony bin.
Thankfully, they can't see what's going on in our head. It could be a little bit disturbing for them, I imagine. But at the same time, it's like, as human beings, we obviously need to be able to experience these very human things that everyone does, to have the empathy with the clients that are sitting in front of us as well.
Yeah. And sometimes it's having, I remember, when I first started out, I one of the things that stuck with me, and it's always stuck with me, one of the things my trainer said to me was, in fact, she said a couple of different things, but one of the things that she taught me to do was, you repeat back to the client the phrases they use, right? Now, remember that. And she said, the other thing that she said was, they will always tell you what you need to do. So sometimes I used to think, right, I've got a clue. They've told me what I need to do, and I need to look at my notes. So that's one of the reasons. And I've evolved that into picking out from the red herring kind of thing that we talked about before. But when I was brought up, remember, I was brought up in the 70s, the 60s and the 70s. We did not swear, okay? Shit was a massive swear word, all right, when I was growing up. It was my favourite one, by the way. It was the first swear word my daughter learned at 18 months old.
Takes after her mother.
Anyway, we digress. So anyway, I had this client sat in front of me, right? And I'd only been doing the hypnosis for about a year. I hadn't got huge amounts of experience because I wasn't doing massive amounts of clients at the time. Anyway, weight loss. Why do you want to lose weight? And I'm trying not to say the word that he used, but you can guess what it is. Well, Helen, I don't want to be the fat, illegitimate child on the beach. And I was sat there going, oh God. I can ignore that. You only said it once. So we were talking, he went, and then he repeated it again. I was like, oh no. So anyway, we get into hypnosis, and we're getting to that point because I was using Sheila's gastric band thing, and I can see it coming up on the script. Put in client's words. I'm thinking, oh no.
And you know what? It sounds so much better when you do it in a hypnotic voice as well, doesn't it?
Got his eyes closed, thank God, because I'm sat there going, you are so going to hell in a minute, love. And I'm going, because you don't want to be that bad on the beach. And then, of course, I go through the script and you're going to repeat it about twice, haven't you?
And slowly.
And that was the one that broke me in swearing to clients, I tell you. But you know what? It felt so wrong, I have to be honest.
And, there would have been part of me concerned as well of, because of my own belief system, like, is this going to be too funny for this person? Am I going to have a conscious moment there where I break them out of that unconscious situation they're in?
Oh my God, I tell you, I was like, oh my God, what have I done to this client? I don't know what I'm doing.
I actually had something similar happen once where I had a client come in for drinking, and I was using a metaphor about, well, no one's born a drinker. And I actually said, you weren't born a 1 bottle a day baby. And there was a slight smirk on the face. I thought that was a risky one. But again, I often use humor a lot in the work I do because it creates a state, creates an emotion.
Yeah. And you can use it effectively to break state, because sometimes you do need to break the state, and then sort of digress and then come back to it, and that works. That's a trick that works quite nicely. But I remember I swore again to another client because they were using a particular word that I really don't like, and it wasn't the C word. That one I refuse to use. That is, there's a line, isn't there?
Yep.
And I repeated, I thought, do you know what? He repeated it several times while we were talking. I thought, right, you so-and-so, you're starting to annoy me now. You're getting it back. This was when I I was a little bit more confident as a therapist. I'd had a lot more experience and I was a bit more confident. So, right, you little so-and-so, you're getting this one back at you. So I repeated it back to him in hypnosis several times. He opened his eyes at the end, sat up and went, "You swore at me." I went, "Yeah, you swore at me too."
You know what's interesting, the thought that's coming up in my head in this conversation in relation to our topic, and it's an interesting one. It's around the whole notion of the boundaries and where to push them. Because I think when people start off with hypnotherapy, there's almost this, well, I'm playing the role.
Yeah.
But in playing the role, we get lost in where the boundaries are as well. It's like,
yeah.
But what I'm hearing from you is really about, not about necessarily being, authentic, because you may not authentically swear, but there is an authenticity about what you're doing as well. And I feel that it's almost like discovering who you are and bringing that into the role of the hypnotherapist.
Yeah, I think you're right, actually. Yeah, I think it's something you evolve into as you because it's, when you learn to be a hypnotherapist, you've learnt the basics. Once you finish the basic training, you then learn how to be a hypnotherapist, don't you?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like stepping into the role, isn't it? It's like when you become a new job or something, when you take on a new job or something, you have to step into that role. And I think becoming a therapist is the same. I don't know if I've like most people, I don't know if I've ever stepped into the role completely. I think I'm comfortable in the role. I think I'm more comfortable now as a therapist, but I still have those times where I think, are you taking on more than you can chew? Are you sure you can do this? I don't know if I can, but then I'm gonna try anyway, because there's a bit of me that thinks, yeah, we probably can do something. But I think it's having that, it's taking that big deep breath, isn't it? Going, well, okay, we're not sure about this, we are afraid of this, we are, but we're going to do it anyway. And I remember doing that a lot. And this is Granger's fault, and I tell her all the time, it's your fault.
I'm sure she'll love the shout outs in this. I'm sure she will. She's been mentioned a couple of times now. She's clearly more influential than what she probably gives herself credit for there.
Yeah, she is. And she said to me, look, you need to go networking. Especially
if you're more introverted in nature. Introverts hate networking.
Yeah. Oh, geez, I tell you, that was tough. And it is about stepping out of your comfort zone, isn't it? And I remember working with Sheila, there was a massive point where I recognized that actually I didn't have a comfort zone at that point. Everywhere was outside of my comfort zone. The only comfort zone I had was inside the house, kind of thing. But it was a case of, the first time I went to a networking meeting, and I didn't consider myself, and I don't know whether I do now, to be a business person. And networking is for business people, serious business people. They know what they're doing. They're very successful, and that just wasn't me, And I remember. But Sheila said I had to go, so I have to go. So I booked, and I remember standing, and I got myself dressed. I got proper clothes on, not jeans and t-shirt. I got proper clothes on, so I kind of felt a little bit more. I think I even put heels on, and I don't wear heels. So, and I remember I stood at my door just to go out, and I remember, right, take a big deep breath. So I took a big deep breath. I got hold of my big girl pants, and I literally stepped into my big girl pants, and I thought, right, okay. Now you've got your big girl pants on, you're businesswoman. And I'm thinking, I'm not businesswoman. And there's the other part of me going, oh yes, you know, I talk about those busy
you got these two parts. Is one dressed as an angel, one dressed as a devil by chance?
Oh geez, I tell you. And they're going, oh yes, you are. For this next hour and a half, you are a business person. I'm going, I don't think, yeah, you are. Come on. And for some reason, I remember walking out the door, and I don't know how I got out the door. And I remember walking into that room, and I walked into the room, and of course, everybody knows everybody. It's like, oh, my knees are knocking. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I just want to go home. I want to go home. I really want to go home because it's not me. I'm not a businesswoman. I don't know anything. I'm not this, I'm not that. Yeah. And then somebody came up and said, oh, hi, Helen, how are you? And I went, oh, okay. She speaks normally. Mm-hmm. She looks normal. She hasn't got any horns or anything. She's, okay. So I said, oh, I'm good. He said, what do you do then, Helen? I said, oh, yeah, I'm a hypnotherapist. And part of my brain's going, you blooming liar, you're not. Mm-hmm. You don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, it's embracing the identity again. Yeah, it's the recurring theme here.
But then I'm going, well, do you know what? I'm going to fake it tonight. I'm going to fake it. We'll carry on with the faking it till it becomes more normal and we grow into that role. Because fine well that eventually you will do. So I did, and I chatted, and I made a few friends, a bit more connection. I went back again and made a few more friends, and that's how it went, And then I went to what I considered to be the big boys network thing, the global BNI one, and I thought, again, exactly the same thing. Oh my God, these are all business people. They're all men, business people, very serious. And I just left my job because I built my business up enough to be able to leave teaching. Mm. And of course, again, Sheila said, Helen, you need to go to BNI. I went, yeah, all right, I'll go to BNI. So I went. And, again, my knees were knocking out. I'm thinking, part of me is going, what are you doing here, Helen? What are you doing here? These are all really serious business people. The image I had in my head was an image from sort of maybe the 60s and the 70s of very serious, straight-faced bank managers that kind of like that. God knows where that one came from. Limiting belief, I guess. Mm-hmm. So I walked in, and somebody greeted me and said, oh, hi, nice to meet you, Helen. And I got talking to the next person I spoke to was somebody that's become a very close friend. And he just stood there and chatted to me as if I was on the same level. And that was when the limiting beliefs, I think, started to crumble, because that one conversation was so powerful that it dispelled all that stuff that I'd sort of believed about myself. And I thought, actually, maybe I might be able to squeeze in a little bit here, maybe I might be able to connect with some of these people, and a good friendship has grown up over that. And that was because I had the courage to step into that and think, well, do you know what? That's not me at the moment, but if I keep working at it, it'll become. And I think it has to a large extent, it certainly taught me to do a lot of things, how to stand up and speak in front of people. The first time I had to do, because you do a presentation at these things. And I had to do, you'll laugh at this one, I had to do a 10-minute presentation. And, there was about 30 business guys there. A lot of them were blokes. There was about half a dozen women. And I remember, oh my God, my knees were knocking. I'm thinking, I don't know. 10 minutes, it's a long time. What am I going to do in 10 minutes? And I'm hanging in, what am I going to do? And I stood up and I did the old, the trick that most presenters do and athletes do. I rehearsed it over and over in my mind before I actually did it, so that when I literally stood up and everything just clicked into place, and I just ran for it and went. And now I think about that first one and I laugh my socks off at what I do now. Now I go, oh my God, it's only 10 minutes.
How am I going to fit everything in 10 minutes?
I can't do anything in 10 minutes. Can I have half an hour?
So let me get this right. So hang on, the introduction is 10 minutes, yes? No, that's your time.
Yeah.
How am I going to do that? Yes.
Strange how things change around. If you sort of take that deep breath and just go, right, okay, acknowledge that you feel fearful.
Yep.
Because that's what it is at the end of the day.
Well, you are feeling it, so there's no point denying it. You might as well embrace it.
Yeah. And go, right, okay, we feel like this, but we're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
big girl pants, off you go.
I've got
And
my
then the
big girl
times
pants
I
at home too, so yes. I look fabulous in them.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. So a question for you, 'cause I'm getting consciously aware of our time, but I love to ask these questions because it always provides a different insight. But if you're able to go back to see the Helen just starting out, start of her career, what information would you give to her from you now that you feel would be beneficial for her to hear?
Oh God. I think what pops into my mind is I think what I'd actually say is, you know, I suppose what I would do is a bit of inner child. I'd give myself a big hug and say, look, love, do you know what? Don't hesitate, just go for it.
Mhm.
You know, you've got all the courage you need. You've got more courage than you need. Just go for it. You know, because at the end of the day, the sky's the limit. You can achieve what you want to achieve. You can go as far as you want to go, but just don't hesitate. Just put the big girl pants on and go for it. I think that's what I would say.
That one. And my second part to this question, if we could go 10 years into the future
Ooh.
and visit future Helen, who's got 10 more years experience under her belt, what advice do you think she would give to you now?
Oh, nice one, Lawrence.
Thank you.
Do you know what? I think at the moment she'd stand in front of me, she'd go, stop faffing around and get on with it.
Sounds like a mentor I know, actually. It says a similar thing. There is curiosity. Obviously, as mentioned earlier on, you know, you're extremely well known for your menopause relief work that you've done. I know you from the grief and loss workshops you've done. I know that you have a Facebook group that provides immense value with regular Facebook Lives as well. But what is next for Helen? You know, what are the plans there?
Oh, God. Jeez. That's interesting, isn't it?
Or is it all top secret? And if you had to tell me, you would have to, or if you told me, you would have to kill me, basically.
You'd have to kill myself, actually.
We'll get the 10-year version and head come back and,
you know what? 10 years down the road, I would like to be I'd like to be taking hypnosis much further afield, much further in the community, not just the people community. That sounded wrong, didn't it? But the therapist community. You know, there are so many things that I'd like to be doing with therapists to help them, you know, sort of become who they are underneath, that they probably don't realize. You know, I don't even know who I'm actually going to be yet. I don't think it's like opening a Christmas present on Christmas Day, isn't it? You open one layer, oh, there's another layer, let's open another one, and it's, you know, it's still getting down to the nugget at the bottom, isn't it? But no, but it's working for me with the therapist stuff. It's about helping those therapists to see that they can do those things that they perceive everybody else does, and in fact we probably don't. You know, I don't think I'm any better than the next hypnotherapist along the line. I think sometimes the difference is, you know, I have a crazy idea in my head and I go, oh well, let's run with it. Let's see what happens here.
What happens here? Yeah. It kind of comes back to that idea that we were talking about before, where you kind of learn the basics, you learn the rules, you learn the structure, but then certain clients come along and you go, should I do this? You don't fit that box. Should I do this? I think I'm going to break a rule today. I think I'm going to try something a little bit different and just see what happens. And sometimes something wonderful comes out of that.
Does because, you know, most clients will fit into some sort of a box, but then you always get those ones that don't fit into any box that you've been taught. So, you know, those are the ones you've really got to start to think outside the box and to do those. But again, it comes down to courage, and that's one of my strong beliefs, especially with the Facebook group, is to show those therapists that, they have got the courage. All they've got to do is just step into it and just go with it, and to help them to become who they truly are as a therapist. Because I think that is such a valuable thing. The more we can help other therapists to be, I was going to say better, but that's not, to be more the therapists that they truly are, and to follow their instincts and to know that they are good enough, because they are good enough, because we always know more than we realize that we know. And for me, that is one of the things that I want to be doing in the future, most certainly. Of course, I'd like to have my own place. I see my own little cottage in the woods, near a beach in the woods, where I have a massive training room where people come from all over and we do training there. I have no idea. It's just a picture I have in my head.
That's a good one, though, isn't it?
It will be a fantastic one.
Yeah.
And for clients, again, I'm only one person, same as you're only one person. There's only so many people we can get around. But you know what, we can get to so many more people by helping other therapists to embrace their inner therapist, I guess. And let that out. We can influence so much more.
And I truly believe that when they do that, when people embrace that inner therapist, it almost feels like the universe says, rightio, I'm going to provide you with opportunity now. Whether that be more clients or decisions that take them in different directions, and that I do feel honestly that when people hold themselves back, the universe says, you're not ready yet. I'm just gonna put this on pause until you find that. So and
sometimes it just takes one word or one phrase or one sentence from somebody, doesn't it? To just set that all in motion, and sometimes it's those clients that make you think, because equally we learn from clients. I've learned so much from my clients, and I continue to do that every single time I work with a client. I learn something from them, and each and every one teaches me to be a better therapist every single day, especially the more complicated cases, the more trickier cases. Those are the ones that make me push further, that make me think even further outside the box. They can be hard work and they can be tricky, but those are the ones that make you grow the most.
Absolutely, I agree with that too.
I make mistakes. I do. I make mistakes, and then I think, well, okay, what can I learn from that mistake? Because mistakes are just opportunities to learn, aren't they? How would I do it differently next time? Well, maybe I wouldn't swear at him next time.
You need to put a sign up on your door saying, no swearing, please, or something like that.
To be perfectly honest, Lawrence, I'm comfortable with it now. I got comfortable with it years ago. Because if it's their language, then that has to be thrown back.
It has to be thrown back.
The only one I won't use is the C word. I think that's a horrible word and I won't use that one. But I'll come up with another one.
Yes. The C word, COVID. No.
Or Christmas.
Helen, thank you so much for your time this morning for you, this evening for me. If people wish to reach out and get in touch with you and discover more about some of the training opportunities you do, how can they do that?
They can find me at, hang on, this is the other way around. They can find me there at my website, helenbreward.com, or you can email me at helen@helenbreward.com too. You can also find me on Facebook. Just type in Helen Breward or Positive Hypnosis. Any one of those will get me somewhere along the line. Just Google.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
It's been
an absolute pleasure talking with you. I have no doubt people watching this are going to have both a laugh and an insight. I absolutely hope they do.
But you can't have fun.
Exactly.
What's the point?
But you take care of yourself, and for everyone watching, take care too, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Yep, that'd be great. I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.